there and obviously give him the credit. So this is the basic circuit diagram that you have to build. You're going to need some jumper wires like my previous GPIO video, and you're going to need a breadboard, and you're going to need about 5 or 6 different components. So these are the components that you are going to need. You're going to need the LCD display that's compatible with the software that's been written. You're going to require a transistor which will allow you to turn the display on and off. You're going to need 2 variable resistors which will allow you to control the contrast and the brightness of the text, and also the brightness of the back display. And you're also going to need a couple of resistors just to protect the circuit and so on. So one of the first things you have to get hold of is obviously the parts you're going to need to try out this project. The basic parts you're going to need are a breadboard and some jumper wires. I recommend you go to tandyonline.co.uk. Delivery is like only £1. I think the jumper wires are a couple of pounds and the breadboard is about £10. And these can obviously be used for any GPIO project you're trying to do on your Pi. And obviously you can do more than just this LCD project with these. The parts you're going to need specifically for this LCD project are the ones I've got on screen here. So transistor, a couple of resistors, and 2 variable resistors, and the LCD panel. I found them a little bit tricky to get hold of, so what I've done is I've ordered a bulk order of these, and I'm going to put them up on eBay. Look for the link in the description of the video, and there should be a few on there that you can go and buy from me for $9.99 with free delivery. Okay, so the first example we're going to run is going to be to get it to display text to the screen. The first example, obviously we have the ability to justify the text in the center, and then on the left, and then on the right, and as it's displayed there is how we'll see it actually show up on the actual LCD panel. And then the next example we're going to see is the LCD display getting weather from Google's weather API, and displaying 3 different locations and the locations of those, the temperature of those 3 locations. Okay, so obviously you've got to get your breadboard and get it wired up as we see on the diagram. So you have your LCD display, you have a bunch of resistors, that transistor that allows you to turn the display on and off, and the 2 variable resistors to change the light settings on the display, all connected up to your Pi. With a simple small screwdriver, you can just change those variable resistors. Note that I've had to solder those wires into the LCD display. They can go on either side, but I've done them just that one side. Okay, so this is the code I've taken off of the Raspberry Pi Spy website. And first thing that you notice is it imports the Raspberry Pi GPIO interpreter. It's written in Python. We're then going to map the pins on the LCD panel to which pins on our GPIO headers we're using. We then come down to the main programming block, and we enable all of the GPIO pins to be enabled and active. And then we have 3 different blocks of text we're going to display. We've got a timer between each display of 3 seconds, that can obviously be altered very simply, and in between here we just change and type what we want to have, and the number afterwards indicates what text justification it's going to be. 2 means centered, 1 means to the left, justified left, and 3 means justified right. Once that's displayed, it will hold the last block of text on the screen for 30 seconds, and then it will exit out of the application. So we run this by going to our Raspberry Pi over SSH, and then we see in here I've got my 2 scripts. So I'm going to run the first one, which is sudo python lcd, and then we run that on the display. You'll see that first example. Okay, so the second example is very, very similar. I've done some work on it here with a friend of mine who's helped me out. First thing we do is we define the 3 locations of weather that we want to obtain into 3 variables, which are variables line 1, 3 and 5, which are going to be, out of the 6 lines in total we display to screen, these are the ones that will be on the top. Then what we do is I've added the following Python code to the main script that we got from the other example, and it talks to this site here, which is google.com, and then it's their weather API, and then we put in the destination of where we're trying to go. So I've got the towns Newmarket and Soham in UK, and obviously London, obviously in the UK as well. What this then does is it saves all this data into a variable, and then we go through with this simple statement which will go through and will search for the temperatures, and it will store that temperature into a variable called temp1, which will then be stored to line 2. So now here we have line 1, and we're going to justify it centered. And again we have the first location, second location, third location. Okay, so one test we can do is if we take this URL and we open up a browser. Okay, so we come here and we type in that URL, and we can see here that it's going to extract the data that we're after, which is in Celsius, the temperature of London at the moment. So come back to our SSH session and we look for the weather script. So I'm going to run a sudo python weather.lcd. It will talk to Google and try and get those 3 stats. Now, I've had this problem where for some reason it will fail to find certain temperatures. It's not consistent, so if anyone can figure out why it's doing that and hopefully help correct my scripts, that would be great. And as we do that, it will output that to the screen here and also to the LCD display. So on the screen right now you'll see 2 links. The first one is to a document pack which contains the 2 Python scripts, also the breadboard layout image with all the components marked up, making it nice and easy. Also there's a link to the Raspberry Pi forum post I've opened up, which will allow people to exchange code ideas and discuss problems with this code or whatever, and maybe come up with some new ideas. That's on the official Raspberry Pi forum, so that should be available once this video goes live. And also don't forget to check out my eBay page if you want to buy the components off there, making it nice and easy for you to